Hey, welcome to Spanish Feminist. I'm Anya.
And I'm Allie.
Today we're talking about Guardians of the Galaxy Volume 2.
I gotta say, I love this movie and I want to see it again.
So did I.
Awesome! It's been a while since I enjoyed a Marvel movie so much.
I agree, it was the first good superhero movie in a while. The last ones, Suicide Squad and Civil War, they were far less enjoyable.
Oh, I totally agree. Not to mention that this is the first Marvel movie where a woman of color was on for a significant amount of time and not painted a different color. Mantis, who was played by I hope I say this right, Clementieff? Clementieff? Who is mixed Korean and white, will hopefully be part of the permanent team.
I truly hope so. She was such a sweet character. Hopefully, by the next movie, she'll get a better arc that doesn't hurt her as meek as she was now. I really hope she gets to punch Drax in the face too, at least once. I mean, to be honest, I really, really hate how he treated her.
Oh, not just meek, but naive and gullible. I did read some commentary on Tumblr where people were worried she was maybe a stereotype of a submissive Asian woman, which is worrisome. But yeah, she definitely should get payback for Drax calling her ugly.
Ugh, yes, I'm really looking forward to a big dose of character development. I mean, she was really sweet in this movie, and she definitely had her baddest moments. But I mean, she was it's really important to separate her from the submissive Asian woman trope.
Oh, absolutely. I'm hoping we get some background on her, maybe reconnecting with her family or something. It doesn't even have to be background story. It could be a romance with someone really worthy of her sweet nature that won't take advantage of her.
Well, knowing Marvel, that's not going to happen. But well, yeah, she deserves someone as good as she is.
She does, and I hope fandom steps up and starts writing her some good fics, because she is also a badass with interesting powers and she uses them bravely when the time comes. Moving on, let's talk about some of the issues of with the franchise. Many people don't know there are two women that were cut out of the movies from the comics. They were Phyla Vell and Moondragon.
Wow, really? You'll have to call me with those who didn't know. Do you know what happened?
Well, I have to do more research on them, but I'm pretty sure I heard that Moondragon was queer, openly bisexual, and her love interest is Phyla Vell. So maybe they were a couple. I mean, how convenient that the queer ladies were the ones cut out of a huge franchise.
Oh yeah, they were together in one of the comic arcs, right? I remember that Moondragon's bisexual, so it's possible that that was the reason they were cut out of the movie. Especially if Marvel's big. We'll include an LGBT character in a movie in the next 10 years.
For those that don't know, this is partly a promise in response to the Give Cap a Boyfriend hashtag that was popular a few years ago and aimed to make Captain America bisexual. Not to mention that in the first two seasons alone on Agents of S.H.I.E.L.D., the TV show, they killed off two lesbians, Agent Victoria Hand and Agent Isabel Hartley. So yeah, the MCU has a horrible track record when it comes to LGBTQ plus representation.
Yeah, sometimes it's hard to decide what's worse, that little fleeting rev or having known it all. A franchise as big as the Marvel Cinematic Universe should really realize that there's more than white straight people in the world.
Well, just to be clear, neither Victoria Hand nor Isabel ever got established as lesbians, so people argued that they couldn't be considered as part of the dead lesbians trope, but I mean, it's still pretty bad.
Yeah, I mean, I don't really know about them because I don't want the Agents of S.H.I.E.L.D., but established or not, I agree that they shouldn't have been killed.
Sorry about this tangent, but it's Pride Month here in the USA, and I think it's important to discuss this lack of representation in a big franchise. There's finally a gay character, Joey, on Agents of S.H.I.E.L.D., but he's not a regular, and he was missing most of the season.
See what I mean? Marvel really wants those pats in the back for their work, but won't really do anything for it. I mean, what's the point of creating those characters and then sidelining or them or killing them off? The viewers are not silly, they realize what's going on.
It must be really frustrating.
Oh yeah, you bet. Feels like a joke.
Anyways, getting back to the Guardians of the Galaxy Volume 2, I do want to say that I'm glad that Gamora got some storyline of her own with Nebula. It almost passed the Bechdel test, which, for those that don't know, the Bechdel test is where you have two women talking and not about a man. They did talk, but it was about Thanos.
Well, I think it did pass it. One of the conversations in that cave on Ego's planet, it was about each other and their relationship. How Gamora always wanted to win, but Nebula only wanted a sister. It was only indirectly about Thanos because he was the one making them fight each other, and I don't think he was even mentioned.
Huh, you're right. Yay, it passed the Black Belt test.
Awesome, huh? And I absolutely loved them both. Gamora was amazing, as always, and Nebula going up to try and kill Thanos felt extremely powerful. A great message, especially because most movies have a more of a forgive and forget policy when it comes to abusive families. It got to show that it's not like that and that not everyone can do it.
You know, there's a powerful post on Tumblr I read right after the first movie that said that basically the first movie should have been more focused on Gamora and her screwed up family. And I was so happy to finally be getting that. One thing that I'll never forgive fandom for is how they completely latched onto Thor and Loki's angst and screwed up family, but here you have abused adopted sisters and fandom literally does not care. It's just another little bit of fandom misogyny.
Oh, totally. There's extremely little meta about Gamora and Nebula's family, but tons and tons of it about Loki and how his family situation justified his actions. And it's not even a different fandom, but the reactions to the abuse of women versus the non-existent abuse of a male character is really different. I wonder why.
Insert you know why gif here. Another piece of meta I read about fandom behavior over Loki was how everyone rushed to say Loki was abused when there was no evidence, but finally found a worthy recipient for that type of response in Bucky Barnes, aka the Winter Soldier. But here's the thing: Gamora and Nebula in the first Guardians was introduced just a few were introduced just a few months after Captain America the Winter Soldier, and they get nothing in fandom.
Well, doesn't that sound familiar? And it's not as if they even treat Becky's abuse right. He's always woobified and infantilized, and his abuse and disability are always being sexualized. It's really gross.
It's true. There's a shocking amount of ableism in the MCU fandom.
Yeah, another thing to add to their long list of problems. One would think that it's obvious that a character, a human being abused is not sexy, and B, shocking, I know, but women can be abused too, and they deserve payback and cuddling and feeling better and getting over it as much as men.
I really hope the next Guardians of the Galaxy movie gets payback for Gamora and Nebula, but I feel like since the MCU is saving Thanos as a big bad, they probably won't give Gamora and Nebula this win they so desperately deserve.
How much do I bet you that Infinity War opens with Nebula's death after filing and defeating Thanos?
No, that would be horrible. That another dead woman in a male-led movie.
I really don't want that to happen, but if I'm being honest, why else would they have sent her to hunt him down? We already know that he's the big villain of the next movie, so I don't know. It really feels like a setup for that.
Yeah, I know you're right about this, but I don't want to lose Nebula so quickly. She deserved so much better. I don't know if she has it in her to be a hero, but she deserved some closure.
She definitely did. Maybe not as part of the team, but she really deserved to start a good life where she could live without being anyone's shadow and doing whatever she wanted for once.
You know, considering there's like 8 months until an Avengers Infinity War comes out, she could die very soon. Which, you know, considering that they've written out Jane Foster, Betty Ross, Pepper Potts, killed off Janet Van Dyne, and Frigga, this just continues the horrible track record that MCU has with women.
You know, I was talking about this with a friend before watching Wonder Woman the other day. It looks like most action movies just can't afford to hire more than one woman per movie. Even if it's a franchise, the moment the woman is introduced, the previous one leaves the screen. We see this in most of the MCU. For example, Captain America. The first Avenger had Peggy Carter. Then she got old, so she was replaced by Natasha Romanoff, the Black Widow, in The Winter Soldier. And finally, Civil War had two women, Nat and Wanda Maximoff, the Scarlet Witch, but they didn't even interact. No, one of them was in Team Cap, and one of them was in Team Iron Man. Sharon Carter was there too, I guess, but well, her screen time was next to non-existent.
That's so true. In that sense, Volume 2 is the most feminist movie since the first Thor back in 2011, which had 4 women and none of them died.
How sad because none of them are even human. I mean, yeah, they are women, but in a way it doesn't feel like they have the exact same impact or effect, and they are still outnumbered by men.
And before we get anyone arguing about this fact, consider that both Zoe Saldana and Karen Gillan are painted and Pom Klementieff has antennae, versus Thor when all 4 women were allowed to look human. Though Frigga and Sif were Asgardian, they were humanoid. So the MCU is actually getting worse for women.
Exactly. That's not even getting into painting women of color as aliens, which happens to both Saldana and Clementine, who are as of now the only women of color in leading roles in the verse.
It's very obvious as the MCU is sorely lacking in the representation of women of color. Even DC's Suicide Squad had a black woman, Amanda Waller, in charge of the squad. She wasn't painted or anything, and they had Katana, another woman of color, on the team. Wonder Woman had several black women on. I hope I said this right. The Mysera.
The Mysera.
Thanks, but I think only 2 of them had lines. So as a whole, Marvel Cinematic Universe has to really start upping their game. As of right now, DC is also the only one with a female-led superhero film, and that's not counting the Halle Berry Catwoman flop back in 2004. Marvel had Elektra in 2005, but handled it worse than Catwoman, considering they didn't even invest in a big A-list star for a villain, which Catwoman did with Sharon Stone.
Yep, and as far as I know, the DC Extended Universe hasn't whitewashed any roles yet, like the MCU did with Wanda and Pietro Maximo.
Don't forget, they also whitewashed the Ancient One in Doctor Strange last year.
Oh yeah, I'm sorry, I erased that mess of a movie from my mind. That gives them 4 negative points in my mind. 1 for each character, plus 1 more for the ugly Orientalism in Doctor Strange.
I still haven't gotten around to watching Doctor Strange. I was so upset at the prospect at another whitewashed role.
Well, to be honest, I didn't watch it and I don't plan to. I really hope they don't turn it into a trilogy like the other heroes.
Oh, they will. It made $677 million at the box office.
Gross! God, imagine what it would have been if it had actually been a good movie.
Can you imagine how amazing it would have been to have a man of color play Doctor Strange? Someone like Naveen Andrews or Sendil Ramamurthy?
Oh god, it would have been awesome.
And maybe Michelle Yeoh as the Ancient One. I would have died from the awesomeness on screen.
Yes, a superhero movie led by a no-Asian cast? That would have been revolutionary. Instead, we got a whitewashed mess of a film that's not worth a dime, but that somehow managed to make that much in the box office.
And let's not forget, this isn't the first time Benedict Cumberbatch has been in a whitewashing scandal. Does anyone remember how he whitewashed Khan in Star Trek Into Darkness? But honestly, the sins of the MCU just keep accumulating. A bad track record in how it treats its women, how it keeps whitewashing roles, how it's culturally appropriative and orientalist, not just with Doctor Strange, but also with Iron Fist. Honestly, Iron Fist and Daredevil. Honestly, the MCU might have made more money, but they're also currently more offensive.
Well, taking into account the TV shows, DC also has its problems. Arrow is a mess, and so is Legends of Tomorrow, from what I know. So I wouldn't give them any points in that. At least Guardians of the Galaxy has more women and women of color, albeit playing aliens, so, well, hopefully Marvel gets better.
Black Panther will be amazing. I'm looking forward to that. But here's a question. How long do you think it will take for us to get a Storm movie? I know, it's not MCU, but I would pay so much money for a Storm feature film.
Oh my god, yes! I'd say my left eye for a Storm movie in the style of Logan. But, without the whole dying thing, god, where do I sign up for that?
Oh, I've loved Storm since I was a little kid. I just want a Storm movie. Although, considering that Halle Berry is getting older, there's no way we'll get one with her as Storm. so I give it a solid decade before we get a Storm movie. 15 to 20 years for a Monica Rambeau movie.
Jesus, a Monica Rambeau movie would be amazing, and it would be so easy to introduce her in a Captain Marvel film, and then just give her her own spin-off. God, there are so many great superheroes. Marvel people are such cowards for always playing it safe. Air quotes.
Safe being cis, male, straight, able bodied, and until Black Panther and Captain Marvel come out.
Exactly. They call it safe. I call it lazy.
I saw a post on Tumblr saying how the MCU had more actors named Chris than movies featuring leading actors of color.
And it's not a lie. They truly do. Hell, the cast of the Avengers has more actors named Chris than there are non-white Avengers or female Avengers. Well, I mean, now I guess it's the same number, but still, but.
It's so frustrating, though. I just thought of something. Guardians of the Galaxy has the second woman killed for man pain. Peter's mom, and that makes two. Frigga was a first.
Which makes it two more than necessary. God, when will this stop?
I suspect this is a trend that will keep happening.
Yeah, well, I guess we'll just have to keep complaining and speaking up about it. Maybe one day they'll hear us and actually pay attention to what we say.
Yeah, but when?
In okay, I actually don't know. I'm trying to be optimistic, but yeah, it doesn't look good.
Anyways, so major points on this movie is that Gamora and Nebula got really great development. We got a kick-ass woman of color in Mantis. And yet, like you said, there's the potential that Nebula will get killed off in Avengers Infinity Wars.
Well, however, until that happens, I'm really looking forward to seeing the three of them again in the next movies. They really made the movie great.
And hopefully this movie will mark the end of Peter's parental angst. And though I think they'll still find a way to make him the central figure, it would be great to get over that angst. Lol, I just realized that we didn't even cover how Peter's dad, Ego, killed his mom. I mean, we talked about her dying, but not that it was Ego that gave her the tumor that killed her.
God, you're right. That's just so disgusting, especially with how it was used as a way to turn Peter against him. I really feel like they didn't respect her at all.
Story-wise, she's always been a plot device. In the first movie, she was the only parent that Peter had and his anchor that was ripped away from him at a young age. And in this movie, they made sure to make her murder at Ego's hand the catalyst. And she was just a breeder for Ego. Not to mention, I think it was disrespectful of them to underestimate Peter's sense of justice that Ego had to give her a tumor to turn Peter against him. Couldn't Peter just have seen how evil Ego was because he was a genocidal maniac? That he killed kids in an effort to procreate another Celestial?
Honestly, it's really telling of how the writers imagine Peter's character if they think it would take someone painfully killing his mother to make him turn against him. He already had a hero character arc in the previous movie. Was this really necessary?
No, I don't think it was necessary. But then considering how they wrote Drax with a dead wife and daughter and super misogynistic, anyone remember how he called Gamora a whore in the first film? They just really don't care about women.
Exactly, which is so unfortunate because they are working with two amazing female leads in this movie. It makes you wonder where the good character traits come from. Still, I hope we get more of them. Hopefully written by a female team.
You know, now that we're talking about the misogynistic writers, I remembered reading an article about Nicole Perlman and how she was the first woman credited as a writer of a Marvel movie, only for director James Gunn to come in and rewrite it heavily.
Wait, really? That's grass. At this point, though, I'm disappointed but not surprised.
I'll include the article in the description. It seems James Gunn is also credited as writer for Volume 2 as well. I'd love to see this franchise handed over to a woman. Without revealing too much, it makes me think of how well Patty Jenkins did with Wonder Woman and how having a woman director certainly helps avoid misogyny.
Yes, writing from your own experience is always better than writing about other experiences, and that's made clear in cases like this.
Which, you know, with such a diverse cast as Guardians, why do we still have a white male writer-director? I mean, I know why, but I wish we could get some diversity behind the cameras.
I 100% agree with you. It's time for Guardians to have some women of color who are not painted green and who do not have antenna.
Maybe in the next film.
Oh, and by the way, what did you think about Yondu's kind of redemption arc and his whole character arc? In my opinion, it was one of the best parts of the movie.
I loved it. At first, I thought it was a bit clunky, but looking at it in the sense that parents often tell their kids, I'm gonna eat you, when they're little toddlers, it was kind of hilarious. Of course, I'm talking about how in the first movie, Yondu was an antagonist turned antihero that was known for bossing Peter around, and then in the second movie, we get the joke that Yondu never meant to eat Peter for reals. I wanted more time for Peter to appreciate Yondu in his life, but his redemption was pretty great. Yes, I mean I well, I've had a good time with you, Anya. I hope our listeners have had a good time too. If you have, don't forget to hit those like and subscribe buttons.
Well, so did I. See you all the next time. Bye, Ali. We've been Spanish Feminist. Thanks for listening.